was that? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdy Muse. I'm Andy, and everyone, Pride Month is over. Today is June 30th. I'm actually recording this on June 30th. It took me a while to actually get my books read, but I got them read. Okay, so in a way, my goal this month for Pride Month, because I was going to participate in whatever-a-thon, and I started to, but I stopped. And it was just because it was just too, I don't know, it was just too confusing a little bit, just to kind of make sure my books were matching this and that, and then fill in the form, and then what I filled in last, and it just became, so I just stopped. However, I kept on with the reading. And my goal was to read 13 books this month. I only read 12. I know. And even that, I only got to 12 because of, I'll show you here in a bit. But what I want to do today is kind of go over the books I read for June for Pride Month, kind of tell you what my thoughts were for those books. And later on, I'll do a video about my haul for July and what my reading will be, my TBR will be for July. All right, so until then, let's get going. First book I read was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is book one of a trilogy, and everyone, I loved it. It was fantastic. One of the characters, I would probably, and as much as I hate labels, but I'm going to do one here, labeled this character maybe as pansexual, so it kind of hit the LGBTQIA plus tag for June. But I really read it because it's a portal fantasy, and it hit one of the bingo options for whatever-a-thon. However, even though I didn't finish whatever-a-thon, I'm so glad I read this book. So in this world, there are 4 different Londons. There's the Grey London, which has no magic. Red London, which is awash in a beautiful blossoming elf magic. Magic is at its pinnacle in Red London. Now these are all running parallel. And then we have White London, which uses magic for nefarious ends, so it's much more of a power grab. And then Black London, which is sealed off from the other Londons because their magic pretty much ruled everything and literally ate everyone and everything. People just wanted it so much, it devoured them from the inside out. So it's locked off. So in this novel, we follow Kel, who's an Antari, which is a magician that can actually pass between the 3 Londons. And there are 2. And while he's in White London, he does something, and it kind of sparks a series of events that leads him to meet Delilah, who is our next main character, who is an orphan. She's very streetwise. She's grown up on the street. They gang up together to kind of deal with this sequence of events. So I'm not going to tell you what those sequences are because that'll pretty much ruin the book. The chemistry between Kel and Delilah is fantastic. The writing is superb. The story just goes very quickly. It's a quick read. It is, if I can just see this, close to about 400 pages, but it goes quick. Now again, this is book 1 of a trilogy. I will be reading the other 2, one in July and probably one in August, and I'm actually looking forward to those. I'd give A Darker Shade of Magic 4.5 stars easily. Again, the writing is very good. The characters are well developed. It was a while ago when I read it, so any kind of criticisms right now aren't really coming to mind. Yeah, that's pretty bad. All I can say is pick up A Darker Shade of Magic. You're not going to regret it. The next book I read was James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. Now, I had read this book before, and I had completely forgotten I had, and as I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I've read it a few years back. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm going to reread it. And heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I'm not going to say the trope that's used there because it pretty much gives the ending away, so I'm not going to. But there is a common LGBTQIA plus trope in here, and those of you that have been following the kinds of tropes used for our community, like in movies or shows or books, for a while now, you know which one I'm talking about. So Giovanni's Room follows an American by the name of David, who in the 1950s goes to Paris to kind of get away from his family, his dad, get away from reality, try to find himself, or better yet, lose himself in whatever Paris can offer him. And while he's there, he gets involved with some women, but also some men. You know, and in some of these books, gay and bisexual start to kind of mingle a little bit, where you don't know if the character is bisexual or gay, and so therefore, you know, not really wanting to admit gay, so they still sleep with women. But anyway, he meets Giovanni, who's a young Italian in Paris who's trying to make it. They start living together, and then all hell kind of breaks loose. David has a fiance, or girlfriend, actually, I should say, by the name of Hella, who's in Spain traveling during this time. He doesn't tell Giovanni about her, and then he kind of does, and then Hella comes back from Spain, and, well, let's just say things kind of blow up. And that's not even where the crux of the problem is, but I'm not going to give you those spoilers. You just have to read it. This is a heart-wrenching book. It's very realistic. It delves into the hardships that LGBTQIA plus individuals in the early part of the 20th century actually had to deal with. I give Giovanni's Room a really solid 4 stars. It's a fantastic story. Again, it's heart-wrenching because it uses one of those bad tropes for the LGBTQIA plus community. I'm kind of sick and tired of those. But what Giovanni's Room offers us is a look into the mind of a man who is struggling to understand who he is and what life is really all about and who he really loves and what he really wants. And some lives are destroyed in the process. But again, when we come to reality, that's reality. That's what happens. And that's what I think James Baldwin is really trying to capture here in Giovanni's Room. So a solid 4-star read. It's one of the classics. I do think that everyone in the LGBTQIA plus community should read Giovanni's Room. It is one of those giants upon whose shoulders we stand on. So you have a chance, pick it up. It's only, again, if I can see this here, it's only 169 pages. So it really is a fast read. So Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. Next book I read was Ian Forster's Maurice. 5 stars. So I watched the movie back in my 20s a few times, long time ago. But I never read the book. Now this book by Ian Forster was written in 1917, but it wasn't published until 1971. The writing is dated. Again, it's Ian Forster. Nothing against Ian Forster, nothing against his writing style. It is excellent, but you have to be able to get through modern English literature, like early 20th century English literature, to be able to kind of get through it. There are lots of philosophical passages in here, lots of heady, intellectual, scholarly passages in here that you're just like, all right, I get it. Move it on. But what I like about it, and I'm going to say this without giving any kind of spoilers away, it actually has a happy ending. It is very rare to watch any LGBTQIA plus movies or shows or read any LGBTQIA plus themed books that have happy endings. And this one does. And it was written in 1917. Like, come on, world. You have no excuse now to be killing off LGBTQIA plus characters in movies, in programs, in books, and in real life. No excuse. Okay, end rant. So the story follows the titular character Maurice, who leaves school, kind of goes to college, starts to understand that, hey, he might like guys. But during this time period in England, if anyone knew you were gay or had any kind of proof, you were getting arrested and you were getting put into, you're getting flogged, put in prison for years, hard labor. It was horrendous. So he's trying to kind of walk that fine line. Well, while he's at college, he meets Clive. and falls in love. And it kind of seems they fall in love with each other, but then things happen and Clive gets married. Anyway, it just follows the story of Maurice and his development as a human being, as a gay man. And like I said at the end, no spoilers, but it's a happy ending. So you have to read it or watch the movie to see what that happy ending. I keep saying happy ending and I really shouldn't. Sorry. But you know what I mean. It actually has like a happy ending. I'm not trying to be dirty here. Get your mind out of the gutter. As far as the movie goes, if you watch the movie, you've pretty much read the novel. There is a scene in the movie where an aristocrat actually gets arrested for being gay, but that's not in the novel. I think they put that in the movie just to kind of show you how precarious it was during this time period to be gay. Can't blame them. But that's the only real difference between the movie and the novel. However, if you've got some time and you really want to sink your teeth into character development, read Maurice by Ian Forster. I promise you, if you can get past those philosophical passages and those kind of high intellectual parts, you're going to fall in love with the novel. I told myself I was going to read a rom-com, that's romantic comedy, because I normally never read those, and I thought it was time. So I picked up Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I loved it. I give this 4 stars, but let me tell you why. The story, solid, excellent. So this novel follows Alex, who is the first son. So his mother is the president of the United States. And Prince Henry, who is third in line for the throne in England, they're about the same age. And it's pretty much an enemies to lovers kind of a situation. Story is good. Pick it up, read it. Characters are good. Where it kind of lost points for me was in some of the dialogue. When you have Alice and Henry kind of texting back and forth or writing emails back and forth, just some of the things they would say, they're like, no young gay guy would ever say this. Where is this coming from? Now, I am 43 years old. Maybe nowadays, gay guys who are in their teens do speak that way. I don't know. But it was kind of off-putting a little bit to me. And that really only happened maybe in the first half of the book where you had that kind of weird dialogue back and forth between the two characters. But in the second half of the book, once they've kind of started to establish themselves with each other, the dialogue gets much better. It becomes much more realistic. And you become much more invested, not only in the plot, but in the characters themselves. Another happy ending, Red, White, and Royal Blue is a fantastic rom-com. I actually liked it. I was surprised. I thought I was going to hate it. I was just going to do it just to say I read a rom-com. But I really, really did like it. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of ordered some more because now I want to read some more. But Red, White, and Royal Blue, great read, 4 stars. A friend told me she had read this with her students, Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. It's like a middle grade book. It's won the Stonewall Book Award. Let me take this off so I can actually read the awards. The Pour Belpré Award, the Lambda Literary Award, and another one that I really can't read even without my glasses. It's a middle grade book, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. Why not? People, read this book. 5 stars. The novel follows Aristotle Mendoza, he's known as Ari for short, and Dante Quintana. And they're both 15, and they live in El Paso, Texas. And so there's a lot of this Mexican cultural tradition that's put into this, especially with the whole machismo kind of thing. So, Ari's a fighter, Dante's an intellectual, and they meet at the pool, and Dante's like, I can teach you how to swim, and Ari's like, okay, fine. And so for 3 years, we kind of follow their relationship as it blossoms into something a little bit bigger than just friendship, along with all the struggles that would come along with that. This book made me cry in ways I didn't think I could. The story is good. The characters are well developed. You're invested in both of them. And their parents too. You get to meet their parents, and their parents have their own struggles and issues and journeys that they're going through as well. And you fall in love with all of them. And you watch them fall in love with each other, all of them. And it's just a beautiful story. Now, he has a sequel, Aristotle and Dante dive into the waters, or Aristotle and Dante discover the waters of the world. That's it, which I'll read next. But this book is a gem to read. A reviewer at the bottom says, this book took my breath away. Ditto, buddy. Ditto. If you have a chance, pick up Aristotle and Dante, discover the secrets of the universe. It's going to melt your heart. You're going to fall in love with all of them. It's just going to be a great read. This is where I kind of cheated a little bit to kind of get to 12 Heartstopper. So I read all 4 volumes. And they are so pure, so loving, so human. Yes, I cried. I read all 4 in under an hour, and that's because I also had to kind of feed the animals. But I wanted to read them before I watched the show on Netflix, and everyone did not disappoint. Alice Oseman has written beautiful graphic novel series here. And if you haven't read them yet, you have to. The series follows Charlie and Nick in high school in England, right? So we call it high school here, whatever they call it there. And it starts off with a high, and it ends up with them falling in love with each other. And that's not really a spoiler because it's kind of hard. I mean, look at the cover from volume 1. You kind of know how it ends up. But just to watch their interactions, they're so innocent and pure and good and loving. You just can't help but be rooting for both of them and their families and the friends around them who actually come to support them. And this is what life... There is some reality in these, bullying. As you get to volumes 3 and 4, you get into more mental health issues. So it does get very heavy in the last 2 series, and there is a 5th one coming out in February of 2023, apparently, which I'm really looking forward to reading. But even with those, there are tinges of reality in here, obviously. But just the innocence that the two had, and just how beautifully their relationship flowers and they fall in love. I cried. Again, I've been crying all month. I'm not going to lie. All these books have made me cry. I don't know why. Maybe it's seeing myself in some of them, or what I wish sometimes in some of them. I don't know. But it makes me cry. They're just so beautiful. The stories are beautiful. They're real. And also just being able to see myself in them. Growing up, when I was in high school, all the novels and short stories and plays and novellas that we read all featured nothing but straight characters. That was it. All the relationships were heteronormative. Everybody was straight. Everybody. I never saw myself in print. And even in high school, when there started having some movies with LGBTQIA plus characters and themes comes out, like Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, in the 1990s. I wasn't allowed to watch them. I never saw myself in media, in print. And now I am, and being celebrated. And I don't know, I'm 43 years old, and it's brand new to me. Anyway, if you haven't read Heartstopper yet, get them, read them. They're very quick reads. Look, I kid you not. I mean, it's graphic novel. Quick read, but the story is so deep and so beautiful, you will not regret paying the money for the graphic novel. So that was 4. I counted each one as 4, so yeah. A few years ago, Call Me By Your Name came out, based on a novel. Like, yeah, okay, now I'm going to read the novel. Well, I bought the novel. So, Call Me By Your Name by André Aciman, or Aciman or Aciman, one of the two. I'll go with Aciman. Everyone, it made me cry. Okay, so I give this book a 4 out of 5. The novel follows an American grad student by the name of Oliver who goes to Italy and lives with a family while he's kind of working on his dissertation. They call it thesis in here, but it's more like a dissertation. And the family has a 17-year-old son by the name of Elio. And the story follows their blossoming relationship over the course of 6 weeks. Now, the novel is not action heavy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I'm trying to say is, it's not a fast read. The novel is told from Elio's perspective, so it's first person. And you're constantly only in Elio's head. And Elio's a 17-year-old, and sometimes it gets a little frustrating and annoying because you're like, you're an idiot, But you really can't say that because he can't hear you because it's just a story. But there's a lot of philosophizing in here. It's just like Maurice in that way, a lot of philosophizing. You get the same thing from Giovanni's Room. I think this novel is a direct descendant of Giovanni's Room and Maurice in a way. But you see Oliver, who's in his early 20s, and Elio, who's 17 years old, roughly get into a relationship and kind of how it affects both of them. But again, mostly from Elio's perspective. It's a good story. It's a beautiful story. Makes you cry. Heartfelt. It's very raw. It's very human, earthy, very raw. But again, a lot of philosophizing in it, a lot of asking questions. There's a lot of flowery descriptions of like what was on that table or on that table, or so a lot of some parts can get a little slow at times. But if we strip that part away, the story between Oliver and Elio is a beautiful story. Now, if you watch the movie, you know how it ends. That scene is in the novel, but it's not the ending scene of the novel. There's a whole fourth part in the novel that I strongly encourage you to read to really see how the story with Oliver and Elio ends up. So if you like the movie and you want to kind of really get some more other than the way it ended, buy the novel, and at the very least, read part 4. Because there's more to the story than just what the movie shows. But again, it's very raw. It's very honest, as only a 17-year-old boy can tell you the story. And I really do give this a strong 4, maybe 4.5 stars. For my sapphic pick, I went with Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. I gave this book a 5 out of 5. Loved it. Did it make me cry? Absolutely not. But the story was a well-told story. It takes place in post-World War I England off a little island called Crow Island. Just want to make sure I get that right. Yes, it's Crow Island. And Crow Island is known for having witches and being very heavy in magic. Now, witches and magic are just a normal part of this parallel universe that Francesca May sets her story in. It is post-World War I England, but it's a different universe where there is magic. In fact, it's kind of outlawed. There are witches. They are everywhere. And Crow Island is brimming with witches. Well, Annie, our main character, has to go to the island because her father died and his house was there, and she has to go take care of his things. And she meets her neighbors while she's staying there, and they are Emmeline, Nathan, and Isabel, and surprise and spoilers, they're witches. Annie starts to feel this connection with Emmeline. She feels drawn to Emmeline. And Emmeline is a fascinating character. I love the way Francesca May wrote Emmeline Delacroix in this novel. She is vibrant. She is well-rounded. She has depth to her. Annie, I didn't really like. I'm giving this novel still 5 stars just because the story was fantastic. But Annie can get very, what's the word I'm looking for? Annoying? Frustratingly annoying. You kind of want to tell her to just, shut up. Or, what the hell are you doing? And sometimes even some of the decision she'd make. It's just like, no, that's not even a real stupid decision somebody will make. Like this is forced almost in a way. There aren't too many of those, just a couple, and they were done just to kind of make the story go a certain way. So I get that. With that said, the relationship, the chemistry between Annie and Emmeline is fantastic. The story, very solid, spot on. I really enjoyed Wild and Wicked Things. And actually, if you can get this particular book with this cover, apparently if you put, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the cover come alive if you put your phone camera on this. I'll be honest, I haven't done it yet, just because I'm too lazy, but maybe I should try it here in a bit. It says, bring this cover to life with Google Lens. Anyway, so Wild and Wicked Things, good read. Heartstopper has the ultimate place in my heart out of all these books I've read so far. But my favorite novel that I've read in June was Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. Dear reader, I cried. I cried, and I cried, and I cried. Like Call Me By Your Name, this is an extremely, I'm crying right now just thinking about it. Oh my God. This novel is an extremely in-depth look at the human heart, and it hit all the right chords. It was beautiful. So if you don't know, T.J. Klune is an LGBTQIA+, a queer author. He and his husband are both authors. He lost his husband here recently. His husband's name is Eric, and in fact, the novel is dedicated to him. And as you read their story, like their real life story, and then you read this novel, you can see where he is bringing his own emotions and his own journey of grief into this novel, and it's so real, and you can taste it, and you can smell it, and you can hear it, and it just engages all your senses in a way that a novel really shouldn't be able to do. That sounded weird, but it's yet so true. Under the Whispering Door follows Wallace, who is a lawyer whom nobody likes, and he wakes up dead. And the Reaper, named May, comes to collect him. And of course, Wallace is belligerent, as all newly departed souls would be, right? But she leads him to Hugo, who's the ferryman, who's supposed to help get him ready for the great crossing beyond. Let's just say Hugo and Wallace discover the meaning of life during this time of death. And I can't really give any more away. I mean, I can tell you that when Wallace gets there, I really can't tell you anymore, because part of the joy of this book is just seeing all the great surprises that T.J. Klune throws at you with who's in the house and what happens and what they can do and what they're learning. And it brings a smile to my face just talking about it. But I was crying like a blithering baby when I was reading this, because it's just heart-wrenching and real, and you can, the ideas of loss and grief and how to get beyond that and what life is really about, it's just so powerful. So if you have a chance, if you can, I'm begging all of you, please get Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune and give it a read. You will not be disappointed. This is an easy 10 out of 5 stars for me. In fact, I ordered more of his books. I already had The House in the Cerulean Sea. I ordered a series that he wrote a while back, a fantasy series. His writing is, I loved it. I know some people are like, I can't get his writing. I really enjoyed T.J. Klune's writing. So if you have a chance, T.J. Klune, Under the Whispering Door, easy 10 out of 5 stars. You won't regret it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in with me throughout this entire 12-book tour for the end of Pride Month. Later on, I'll do another video for my July TBR and for, what else? Oh, a July haul. But right now, I'm going to go get this video stuff done and feed the animals and all that kind of good stuff. I just want to give a shout out, Gideon's Bakehouse. Now, I paid for this, but anyways, they had some Pride merch. And so one of them is this shirt. I don't know how well you all can see this, but it's their mascot, if you will, Gideon, I guess, with the rainbow wings. And so I got it for June here. If you all have never been to Gideon's Bakehouse before, it's in Orlando, in Disney Springs. Fantastic desserts. If you have a chance, check them out. But anyways, thank you all again for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed this little tour again, and I will see you all next time. Bye.